um,
Sure.
the, the California wildfires.
Oh God, yeah.
Apparently, it was started by like a gender reveal party.
I
And
had
like that,
I
I've
caught some wind of that.
yeah, I've seen numerous memes of it. Like
I
there's
don't
like
know.
that cartoon dog sitting in a burning house, and then it's like a speech bubble, like it's a boy.
Yeah. Um, I mean, I don't like gender reveal party. I don't know. It seems like a stupid. I mean, I don't know. I don't actively hate them or anything. It just seems like a dumb waste of time.
Yeah,
Do
more
you?
or less.
I mean, why did it start a wildfire? I have no idea. I've been like, doing homework and shit. I don't know.
Maybe it was like I don't know. I have to read up on that on how that happened.
It surprises me that, well, I mean, the wildfires also have been happening for a long time, for several years at this point.
Yeah, and that like James Russell lives in California, and like he lives in LA,
Mm.
and he like we talked about it very briefly. He said like we have like a fire season like and it's very dry on the West Coast. I've been out I was out there for like a week for a couple weeks like back last summer. If you remember, I was sharing it all over Instagram.
I think I do, yeah.
Yeah, and then like so it is very dry out there. So yeah, like that's why they get wildfires and like we don't. Uh, but yeah, like it they have like a fire season every summer. Like it's much longer, and like this fire definitely looks worse than many of the others that we've seen in recent years. And they've had some pretty bad ones in recent years. Like if
Did you
you
see
remember,
that video? Did you see that video of the fire tornado?
the
Tornado.
one that you just sent us like right before we started.
Yeah, yeah, I think I did.
Yeah, I did see that. It's like
I don't know if it's
there's
real or not, but that looks ridiculous. I wouldn't be surprised if it.
yeah, yeah, and also like if you see like the pictures of like San Francisco, like with
Yes,
the sky all orange, and like it reminded like it looked exactly like what the Australian wildfires looked like when
it looks like.
that was happening
I mean, it looks
earlier
like
this year.
it looks like a post-apocalyptic movie or something.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
this is what the end of the world looks like.
yeah, like, and yeah, it really feels like that. I mean, like I know this exactly won't be like the end of the world, but it really but given the imagery, it does look a lot like it.
I don't know. I would I'd be willing to put some money. You know, how should I say this? I'd be willing to bet that we're living in the end times. Were someone to present a good offer, I
Like
think.
I don't know. I feel like that. I mean, it. I might that might be a little bit too hyperbolic, but not much. Not by
Like,
much.
I don't think the human race is going to come to an end or anything.
But
But
the
the glue that's holding, the fabric of our country together certainly seems to be losing its adhesiveness.
yeah, and no one explained that better than like Cornel West when he was
Mhm.
on Anderson Cooper back during when the Black Lives Matter protests back in early June were like first starting. Really, like we're first starting like in this this most recent like revitalization of that movement. Like if you look at how we're handling these problems between the Black Lives Matter thing and also COVID, like we are handling it like a failed state.
This is a failed. That's, yeah, Joseph, or I don't know, our mutual friend Joseph and I were talking about that, and we used that exact word. This is an example of a failed state. There's no way around that. No
Yeah,
country, no country this wealthy or half this wealthy should be doing half as poorly as we are in responding to these protests, to climate change, to all of these sorts of issues, to this pandemic, to every. I mean, it's really pulling back the curtain, and we're seeing that there's not much there.
yeah, it's yeah, and and even though like Obama was more or less just like a status quo manager, more or less, I would feel at least somewhat safer with him in this instance because he at least tries to like at the very least he tries to show sympathy.
Right, and yeah, on top of that, we have a president who, I mean, it just feeds off intensity, controversy. He loves fueling flames. He loves causing a panic. I mean, even though he said he's a pathological liar, he confuses everyone. His followers are cultish, or cult-like. I mean, it's sort of like the cherry on top of this whole Sunday, right?
Yeah.
He's not the problem. He's not even the source of the problem, or even one of the big problems. But he really colors it,
Yeah. He is a catalyst and a symptom as well.
Yes.
And like, and there's very, very few issues in which, like, I'd say, like, the mainstream Republican and the mainstream Democrat are actually different on.
I'd agree.
But when it comes to climate, and also when it comes to COVID and social issues in general, I'd say that's definitely one of those, like, a few of those issues in which they are very different.
Absolutely. Although, if you go back 15-ish years ago, you'll see moderate Republicans, people like John McCain, George W. Bush, Mitt Romney, saying or admitting that climate change is happening and is human caused.
Yeah.
So this is clearly motivated, out of money. The people who run this country make a lot of money on fossil fuels, and they don't want to lose that source of income.
And also on top of that, I mean, these things are not necessarily bad ideas, and I would encourage people to do them. Like things like using plastic straws, reducing your meat consumption, or even eliminating your meat consumption. Using your lights less often, right? Those are all individual practices that I think would do a bit to benefit the environment. But it's the fossil fuel companies who are really relying on the people who act like, oh, like, we can't save the environment unless we do these things. Because, 70%, I think it's about 70% of the carbon emissions are produced by like around 100 separate giant companies. So like, if they want us to just talk about like these individual practices to really like help save the environment. And Elizabeth Warren was explaining that in like the CNN climate change town hall earlier in the primary. I think she really hit the nail on the head with that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they want us to talk about our straws, they want us to talk about our cheeseburgers, they want us to talk about our light bulbs,
right.
And you have to like just say like, do that, and we'll keep doing this.
If I'm being totally honest, and this might be, a huge downer, but I think it's too late. I don't think we can do anything about climate change, even if we started tomorrow. I think we're just fucking done for. We had a window of about 20 or 30 years in which we could act and do something, and we just missed it. And scientists were shouting the entire time, trying to get the attention of politicians, and no one would listen, and now it's too late. And this is what happens.
I wouldn't say it's necessarily too late yet, but we are rapidly approaching that point. I definitely think at this point, there has definitely been some irreparable damage to the environment. And, and like what scientists are mostly saying is like within the next decade, if we don't do something. And like, it's like we are reaching a point of no return, at least, like a partial point of like no return. Like if you know what I mean. Like
the Earth is getting hotter at a faster rate than predicted. The ice is melting at a faster rate than predicted. We are very rapidly approaching this point of no return if we haven't hit it already. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's not just like a consistent, like gradual thing. It is a snowball effect. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It is not better than it was 5-10 years ago. It is worse. And I mean, I don't know. I've met some people who, for whatever reason, think that some environmental regulations have been put on these companies just because of how much they've been talked about, but they haven't. Nothing has happened.
Yeah. And, like you have assholes like Steven Crowder saying like, well, look, like this is a NASA study that says that the Antarctic like the Antarctica ice sheets have actually gained in ice. It's like, well,
So
that's not entire like that specific NASA study in which she was citing was actually heavily criticized by other scientists and like other people like at NASA. So that's like a very like that's like an outlier. And then
but
also like
what does one study have to say about like an enormous scientific consensus?
yeah, and like they cherry pick, like what is it, like the 1 to 3% of scientists that say climate change isn't real. It's like, see, look, our like our point is proven. All right,
Right.
tell that to the 97% of other scientists that say that climate change is real.
Yeah. And I mean, that's a huge area in which our media system pollutes the public discourse because it's presented
Exactly.
to be as one side versus one side as fair and balanced. If
I
it
was
were
just about to bring that up. Yeah, like the idea of neutrality bias, and as oxymoronic as that sounds, it is a real thing in which they're presenting both sides as equally, as equally like correct. Like it's just a matter of opinion. Like they have Bill Nye and then like a Koch brothers funded climate change denier speak on a
Mhm.
panel as if like like as if they were equals in their
Yeah,
positions, and they're presenting it as 50-50. In reality, like I said, it's like 97-3.
and it's not just like an accidental problem or a problem with the rubric. I mean, the people who own the media are wealthy people. The people who own the media want us to keep burning these fossil fuels.
Yeah,
Of course, this is what happens when you privatize the media.
yeah. And then like there's that, and I also think there is just like the media's obsession to not appear biased, where they don't let their biases
There's
know
that
out
too,
front.
yeah. There's internal pressure. Yeah, Noam Chomsky and Edward Herman talk about this in manufacturing consent. There is, I think it's called FLAC is the name of the filter. There is an internal pressure on journalists to um, to keep neutral or to prevent their biases from being shown, even if they have them. And I don't think
Yeah,
that's the proper way to conduct journalism.
yeah. I would have more respect for them if they just let their biases known up front,
Hmm.
and then and then it's on them to make sure that is separate from the facts. Like they convey the facts and then they give their biased interpretation of the facts, like after like they give like just the raw facts. And like it's because of that like level of dishonesty that independent news organizations and commentary, places for news commentary on both left and right are doing so well. It's not because like they're actually really great at their job. It's because the cable news media sucks at their job.
Yeah, not much to add to that.
What else happened this past week that we should talk about?
I don't know. That's a good. I feel like something happens every day.
Yeah,
So I have whiplash. I've had whiplash for the last 3 years, 4 years.
Whiplash.
Yeah, like media whiplash. So like something absurd happens every day. I look at my phone, I see the headline.